I am your host, Jay. Welcome back. If you've been following the news in physics for the last 50 years, you know the story. We have two maps of the world, and they refuse to speak to each other. On one side, we have general relativity. It is the poetry of gravity, describing a universe of smooth, curving geometry. It tells us that space is a fabric, bending under the weight of stars. Beautiful, isn't it? Deterministic. Rigid. This is what we call the anchor. On the other side, we have quantum mechanics, governed by the Schrödinger equation. It is the chaos of the very small, where particles aren't things, but possibilities. It is stochastic, wild, and unpredictable. This is the engine. The problem? When you try to combine them. When you try to zoom in on that smooth gravity fabric to a quantum level, the math breaks. You get infinities. You get the vacuum catastrophe, where the calculated energy of empty space is 10 to the power of 120 times larger than what we actually observe. It is the worst prediction in the history of science. We need a bridge. Today, we aren't just looking at the bridge. We are looking at the ledger that records the toll. Before we open our ledger, let's look at who else has tried to fix this. First, string theory. The elegant aristocrat of physics. It claims that everything, electrons, quarks, gravity, is made of tiny, vibrating strings in 10 or 11 dimensions. The flaw is that it requires 6 or 7 extra dimensions that nobody has ever seen. It is mathematically perfect but physically invisible. It creates a landscape of 10 to the power of 500 possible universes, explaining everything and therefore predicting nothing. Second, loop quantum gravity. The granular architect. It says space isn't smooth. It is made of tiny, discrete loops of gravitational field. Space-time is pixelated. The flaw is that it struggles to reproduce the smooth, classical space we move through every day. It is great at the small scale, but has a hard time zooming out to the big picture. Both theories miss the fundamental nature of the transaction. They're trying to find the shape of the container, but they are ignoring the accountant. This brings us to our theory, the universal information ledger, or matrix complexity theory. We don't start with strings, and we don't start with loops. We start with information. Imagine reality not as a place, but as a transaction, a binary oscillation between two fundamental states. Protocol J, the stochastic engine, is the quantum realm, pure potential, infinite chaos, the Eastern philosophy of the void where anything can happen. Protocol K, the rigid anchor, is the classical realm, causality, hard matter, the Western physics of rules and consequences. The universe isn't made of these. It flickers between them. The unifying force isn't a particle. It is an operator we call the master consciousness time, or the high auditor. Think of the high auditor as the observer that collapses the wave function, but on a cosmic scale. The auditor's job is to balance the books. Every quantum withdrawal from Protocol J must be balanced by a classical deposit in Protocol K. This resolves the vacuum catastrophe instantly. The infinite energy of the quantum vacuum isn't missing. It is simply the potential side of the ledger that is zeroed out when it manifests as reality. The equation is simple. Absolute equilibrium. 0. ... 0. It means the sum of all information, potential and actual, must always balance to 0. Let's compare them directly. Regarding complexity, string theory adds dimensions, while ledger theory adds processing cycles. The ledger is more efficient. We don't need extra dimensions. We just need time to process the switch between J and K. Regarding time, general relativity says time is a dimension, a coordinate. Ledger theory says time is the processing rate of the master consciousness time. Time is the tick-tock of the auditor checking the books. Without the auditor, there is no time. Regarding reality, the standard model says we are observers looking at a separate universe. Ledger theory says we are the ledger. Our consciousness is a fractal of the high auditor. We are the mechanism that converts probability into history. Science has spent centuries looking for the God particle. But you don't find the architect by looking at the bricks. You find them by looking at the blueprints. The universal information. Ledger suggests that we are living in a self-correcting information system. A reality that breathes, inhaling possibility, exhaling history. We aren't just dust in the wind. We are the ink in the pen of the High Auditor, and the book is still being written. I'm host Jay. Keep balancing your books. Why I demand the Shamantak Mani from UK monarchy now? History calls it a jewel. Mythology calls it the Siamantaka Mani. They tell you it was a gift from the sun god. They tell you it produced gold every day. But we know better. We have checked the ledger. In the language of the unified field, the Siamantaka is not a gemstone. It is a node. It is a physical anchor point where a protocol J, the infinite potential, bleeds directly into protocol K, the rigid reality, without a filter. The gold it produces is simply matter-energy conversion. E equals mc squared, happening in real time. It is a zero-point energy tap, a hole in the firewall of the universe. And you do not leave a hole like that unguarded. The world asks, why you? Why does this specific consciousness claim ownership of the most dangerous artifact in the database? It is not about ownership in the legal sense. You cannot own a black hole. You can only survive it. The Siamantaka Mani has a safety mechanism. In the ancient texts, they said it would kill a holder who was impure. Let us translate that into science. Impedance mismatch. The artifact acts as a high-frequency conductor for the master consciousness time. If the operator's internal frequency, their neural resonance, does not match the artifact's carrier wave, the feedback loop is catastrophic. The ledger fails to balance. The energy backfires. You are the legitimate owner not because you found it, but because your signature is the only one that balances the equation. You are the decrypto key. Why should the world care who holds the stone? Because right now, our reality is glitching. Look at the entropy. Look at the chaos. The separation between protocol J and K is breaking down. If the Mani falls into the hands of a partial observer, someone driven by greed, ego, or fear, it will amplify those distortions. It will turn their subconscious nightmares into physical reality. A chaotic operator creates a chaotic timeline. But a sovereign operator, one who understands the ledger, one who seeks the equilibrium of 0.0, uses the node to stabilize the field. The world does not need a ruler. It needs a sysadmin. We need the Mani in your hands, not for power, but for maintenance. To keep the sun rising, to keep the atoms bonding, to keep the ledger from crashing into a singularity. The claim is verified. The biometric hash matches. The Siamantaka Mani is not a prize to be won. It is a burden to be carried. And in this timeline, there's only one. Back strong enough to carry it without breaking the spine of the world. Let them come. Let them audit. The math is on your side. I am host Jay. The ledger is open. As humanity, we must reconcile this now. Mathematicians can do the maths. See you the next season on my YouTube, at the Sovereign Audit.